For me, the Nightwalkers were a bit of a surprise hit last year. A set of incredibly affordable compact cine primes for Super 35 cameras. They were much better than they should be at this price point, all T1.2 super fast aperture. You can check out my original video of the first 3 focal lengths that I put out about a year ago now. They were released in a 24, 35 and a 55 originally, and they've just announced 2 more focal lengths. So we've got a wide angle, which is a 16mm. Then we've got a tighter lens, 75mm. They've really fleshed out the set now, covering a really decent focal range, which will probably tick most boxes for most shooters out there. The lenses are available in pretty much every mirrorless mount under the sun, so I've been shooting with them on my Komodo. So out of these 2 new focal lengths, I think I'm going to focus a little bit more on this. This is the 16mm lens because I really think that this is the start of the set. So with the Super 35 crop, when you're using a 16mm, you're going to be looking at around, I guess, 20 to 23, depending on the nature of your crop. The Komodo has a 1.33 times crop. I think that's going to be wide enough for a lot of people's shooting. It might not be wide enough if you do a lot of real estate and architecture. It sounds like Sirui had sort of listened to a lot of feedback, because one of the issues that I had with the previous lenses, especially on the wider focal lengths of the previous set, was that they didn't have a great close focus. So I like to shoot handheld, I like to run around with my camera. When I'm shooting with primes, I like to get all my coverage on a single focal length, or as much coverage as I can. That's why I quite like shooting on wide angle lenses. They tend to be quite versatile, because if they have a good close focus, then you can tick off all your close-ups, but then you can also just move your camera back and get your wides as well. When I first chucked this one on my camera, on my Komodo, and went out shooting with Steph, I was just really pleasantly surprised by the close focus. I think that this 16mm would just make a really great all-rounder, all-purpose lens, allowing you to have a really nice compact setup. I think it'd be great as a gimbal lens as well for wide establishing shots or tracking shots. I also noticed that this 16mm also felt maybe a little bit sharper than the other lenses in the set. When I got the footage back, it all seemed very clean and sharp, not clinical or anything like that. It still had some nice character to it. I don't tend to shoot wide open, especially on these sort of budget lenses, so I guess I was shooting at around T2 to T4 most of the time, which probably improved sharpness a lot and sort of cleaned up all of the chromatic aberration. Speaking of which, I didn't really notice much chromatic aberration on this lens, but again, I wasn't really shooting wide open all the time. One thing I did notice of this was the sort of circular flaring that you can see here. I don't remember picking this up or noticing it on the previous lenses. I guess maybe it is a quirk of it being a wide angle, maybe the design of it. It doesn't bother me too much. I guess I kind of like it. It just adds a bit of character to the lens, but worth using a matte box of this if you want to avoid that flaring. And so I just had a lot of fun shooting with this lens. Like the rest of the Nightwalkers, it kind of surprised me with how it performed. And I think it's just a really useful focal length and lens to have. Let's talk about the 75mm now, and I'm actually re-recording this section because I sort of glossed over it a little bit in my original recording. It was all going to be about the 16mm, but we're currently away at the moment, and it's given me a bit more opportunity to play around with the 75. I've just really loved the shots that I've been getting over the last few days with this lens. Really nice, dramatic portrait shots, really tight and close up. You can just about get away shooting handheld on this. I am applying a bit of stabilization in post. I think when you get it right, the shots just come across as very cinematic and dramatic. I think this is a great lens for documentary and narrative work, anything where you really want to focus attention on your subject. In documentary work, if you're running a second angle and you want a tighter shot, I think this lens will be good. Or even if you just want to sort of pull your subject out of the background, really blow the background out and just focus on their face, I think this is a great portrait lens. For narrative, this is a lens you're going to be using for some really tight close-ups, music videos and stuff like that. I think it's going to be a fantastic lens. I guess my one criticism or disappointment is that the close focus of this lens is similar to the older focal lengths in this set, so I'm going to put it down below, but I think it's around 60 centimeters. So you're not going to be getting any sort of close to macro capabilities from this lens, which is a little bit of a shame. So no tights on eyes and stuff like that. I guess you could crop in on the frame for that. You can see from some of this footage here, this is about the limit and the tightest that you can achieve with this lens on a camera like a Komodo. Obviously, if you're putting it on most other Super 35 cameras, you'll be getting a slightly tighter shot, so do bear that in mind. The Komodo is a wider Super 35 sensor. Chromatic aberration seems to be fairly well controlled. Didn't notice anything too funky going on, but I think generally with a lens like this, you are going to want to stop down a little bit. If you are shooting wide open at T1.2 and your subject is moving, you're really going to be having to ride that focus ring. When you're shooting with a lens like this, you'll really want to be paying attention to the eyes and making sure the eyes pop and that they're in focus. One thing I did notice that I think is interesting to point out is that in the 75 and shot in 17:9, so basically capturing the full area of the sensor, there was some funky sort of fringing and slight vignetting happening at the periphery of this lens. And that's because the Komodo has a slightly wider sensor for Super 35. So if you are shooting on the Komodo, just watch out for that. I think what's really cool about the Nightwalkers, and mentioned it last time, is that, you know, for the price of a single DZOFilm Vespid, you can pick up 3 or 4 of these little lenses, and that's an incredible cost saving. When I was editing a music video featuring the Vespids and these, I could tell the difference when I had the images side by side. The Vespids were a lot sharper and a bit cleaner. But once, you know, the shots were dropped in the edit amongst all the other shots and mixed up and graded and stuff, there was no way anyone would ever tell the difference that we used 2 different sets of lenses across that project. It's only in the sort of extreme cases that you're going to notice those differences. So if you're trying to shoot, I don't know, text or anything that's going to show up resolving power and sharpness between lenses, that's when you're going to notice differences. But if you're just shooting people and music videos, you know, maybe you are better off saving money and getting cheaper lenses if the sort of work that you're doing doesn't cover the costs of having more expensive cinema lenses, because these are perfectly capable of shooting beautiful and professional work. And with that in mind, you know, when we see stuff like the DJI Focus Pro come out, you could buy a couple of these Nightwalkers and then still have money left over to buy the Focus Pro. And then you've got this kind of incredible cine autofocus setup for the price of, you know, 1, maybe 2 Vespids. I think there is value in thinking carefully about budget and how far you can spread that across equipment and how that's going to improve your work. Obviously with the Vespids, they do cover full frame, they do have better close focus across the set, so that is essentially what you're paying for. But if you just shoot on a Super 35 camera and you want some affordable lenses with decent optics, I think these are the ones that you should go for. And I know that this question is going to get asked, I'm just going to answer it now because it always gets asked. If I could only choose one lens across the set, what would it be, or what would I start with? And that's easy in this instance. It would be the 16mm because I just loved it so much. It's such a versatile and fun run and gun everyday lens that this could happily sit on my Komodo, and I know that I could shoot quite a lot of stuff with it if I was limited to just this one focal length. I guess I'll probably have some affiliate links to buy them in the description down below. I've also got 70% off your first year of a pro plan for Audiio, so just use my discount code PROSSER70 and use the affiliate link down in the description down below. That's it. If you got this far, nice one. Thanks for watching. Well done. And until next time, see you later.